Okay. Communication is one of the primary elements in any family culture, but in a God-centered family culture, there's some things to really consider. The importance of communication is very clear. It's expressed in the Bible many times, but Psalm 78:4-7 mentions it clearly when it comes to parenting.
Right. It says, "We will not hide these truths from our children. We will tell the next generation about the glorious deeds of the Lord, about his power and his mighty wonders. For he issued his laws to Jacob. He gave his instructions to Israel. He commanded our ancestors to teach them to their children, so that the next generation might know them, even the children not yet born. And they in turn will teach their children. So each generation should set its hope anew on God, not forgetting his glorious miracles and obeying his commands."
So it's really clear that we are asked, and not just asked, we are told by the Lord that part of our responsibility is to clearly communicate who God is and what that looks like to live a life patterned after God, in love with God, and in gratitude to God. However, the realities of communicating that, it can be a bumpy ride. The biblical call for communication with God is the same model that we should have as a parent in communicating with our child. 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18 says, "Always be joyful, never stop praying, be thankful in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you who belong in Christ Jesus." It's pointing out that when we're developing a relationship with God, first of all, joyfulness is a huge anchor. Mm-hmm. It's a part of the relationship dynamic. Also, never stop praying. The communication never stops. Mm-hmm. We're always communicating with God. And then thankfulness in all circumstances, the good, the bad, and the ugly, yes. Should still bring out gratitude and thankfulness. For this is God's will. So are we applying those principles that he gave us to relate to him in the same way as a parent to our children? So I think first we have to acknowledge there's different elements of communication. There's verbal, nonverbal, and tone. Mm-hmm. Only 7% of all communication is verbal.
Wait, you mean only 7%?
Yeah, so all those words that you're saying all the time as a parent, only 7% is actually making a difference. 38% of our real communication is the tone of our voice. It's 5 times louder. Our tone is 5 times louder than the actual words we're saying.
So when we're texting with our kids, they are definitely not getting tone. They're only getting 7%.
Oh, no, they're getting tone. We just don't have control of what that tone is. Oh. They're assigning whatever tone that they want. And same with us, as a married couple and even with our friends and family, that with texting, the tone is ambiguous. It's assumed, and who knows what that ends up being by the person who receives it.
Yeah, all caps or 1,000 exclamation points really doesn't affect tone because it's interpreted.
Yeah, the level of tone. Maybe, all caps and exclamation marks, that gives off certain assumptions in our culture today, but even as we've talked about with young people, even that culture is something we don't even understand as much. Mm-hmm. That leaves us to 55% is left. 55% of all communication is nonverbal, both positive and negative. So what does nonverbal mean? Well, by the way, that's 8 times louder than what we say. 8 times more than what the words we are saying are nonverbal. So what does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, for instance, some of the negative aspects of nonverbal communication are when I roll my eyes or when I put my head back and I just cross my arms. Those are giving off certain signs that I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, or not even, rolling eyes, that's pretty strong. Mm-hmm. How about just not looking in their eyes? How about looking at your phone instead?
Absolutely.
So these things are very, very clearly stating, your level of interest and investment in a conversation before a word is said.
And I also think back to some of the positive things that you mentioned, looking in each other's eyes. I remember times when we would talk to our kids, and there was something about when we would express I love you, and they were looking in our eyes as opposed to saying it in passing.
Yeah. Honestly, still today. In fact, I think I did this with our 19-year-old just last week. I was saying, go ahead and look at me in my eyes, because I really want this to get to your heart. And so I think that that's really important. What we do with our body, it speaks volumes. So Proverbs 15:1 through 4, also warns us about how important the way we communicate is.
It says, a gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare. The tongue of the wise makes knowledge appealing, but the mouth of a fool belches out foolishness. The Lord is watching everywhere, keeping his eye on both the evil and the good. Gentle words are the tree of life. A deceitful tongue crushes the spirit.
That stings a little.
Yeah, absolutely.
How often do we react? We communicate out of reaction instead of respond intentionally and prayerfully as a parent. So when we move from the understanding of communication is important, okay, and the way we communicate is very important, and we need to understand the different elements that are involved there. But we also need to understand that the message sometimes is riddled with hidden meaning. So there's a hidden message in every form of communication. So the message I intend to convey is often not what is received, right? So that's a hidden message. The message I verbalize is often not even what they hear. The message that my body language sends, it can even be contrary to what I'm saying. The message that they actually hear, sometimes that has nothing to do with what you've communicated. Sometimes they're listening through their own perspective, or frankly, their own pain, or their own experiences that we may not even be aware of as parents. The message that you understand and interpret from what you hear. One of the things that we often say is, so I think what I'm hearing you say is, and that's because it gives us a chance to rephrase it, to make sure that we're understanding the meaning, the gravity, and the true intent of what they're trying to communicate to us. Lastly, the last hidden message that is in our communication is the message that is triggered in your own personal memories and your own emotions. So many times we are triggered by sometimes something we see that's not even said. There's it can feel sometimes that communication is filled with landmines, and you never know when you're going to step on one that blows you up or blows you both up.
You say hidden messages in communication, and I think back in our early marriage, a lot of our communication issues where I was perceiving what you were saying through my own insecurities.
Yeah. I'm sure you've probably heard the sentiment expressing that all advice or teaching from a parent is received by a child as criticism. That is very true for the young adults and teens today. And so we need to understand that should change how we communicate.